I'm going to be talking to economist Michael Bernstein of Canadians for Clean Prosperity about changes that are coming in Europe to the carbon pricing system there. They're going to have carbon tax border adjustments so that goods coming in from countries that don't have carbon pricing are pay the carbon price. And a document was leaked this week about the changes that are coming, and it's fairly controversial. So Michael's going to explain them to us, and also there are a couple of pointers and insights into the Canadian system. So welcome to the interview, Michael.
Good to be with you, Markham.
Well, look, give us a very brief overview of what's coming in Europe.
Sure. So the European Union has decided that they are going to apply a charge to goods coming into the country to match the system they already have that applies to domestic goods under their emissions trading system, which is effectively like a cap and trade system. It's going to start in 2023. It's going to apply mainly to industrial goods. Think about steel, cement, fertilizer, things like that to start. We don't have all the details, but as you say, we're starting to get a little bit of a picture that what it's going to look like is that those importers into Europe are going to have to buy credits on a system very similar to the type of system that the domestic producers use today to buy their own credits. But of course, the domestic producers today get some exemptions, get some free permits as part of the system, and it looks like importers are going to get that too, which perhaps we'll get into more.
Yeah, so the idea, as I understand the free credits, is to protect those industries that are, particularly I think of oil and gas and steel and cement, that would be disadvantaged. They're trade in energy intensive trade exposed industries, I think they're called. And so what's the thinking behind giving the imports similar kinds of protection?
Well, one of the challenges that the EU, and in fact any country who imposes a border carbon adjustment, is going to have to grapple with is how to make it compliant with World Trade Organization rules. And one of the key ways to do that is you have to show that you are treating foreign producers in the same way as domestic producers. So actually, by designing the system the way they have, I strongly suspect one of the primary considerations there was to show that, to say, look, we are actually just imposing the same rules on domestic and foreign production. We're just trying to level the playing field. So I think that is probably the primary motivator.
Now, this is instructive for North America because Canada and the US have been talking about carbon border adjustment tax since Biden became president. There are active discussions going on between the two countries. And we give free credits, the equivalent of free credits. We have on the industrial emitters tax, we have an output-based allocation system which provides discounts, which is, for all intents and purposes, just like it. So are we going to run into this? Are Canada and the US going to run into the same problem?
We very well might. What we will have to do, and any country will have to do, is figure out how we demonstrate that we're treating foreign producers fairly, which is to say similarly to domestic production. So I think Canada really has two choices here. The first choice is to keep the domestic system we have, which you rightly say provides a type of free allocation, despite there being differences in the details, and thus provide the same favorable treatment to foreign producers. The second choice is to actually evolve the industrial system to apply a full, or at least a fuller price on industrial emissions, very similar to the retail price that you and I pay at the gas pump. And the thinking there would be, look, if the border carbon adjustment protects our domestic industry from unfair foreign competition, then we can in fact apply the full carbon tax. Because the reason we don't have that today is exactly what you said, which is a worry that if a steel producer in Hamilton, Ontario, for example, is subject to the full tax and steel coming in from China isn't, well, look, there's going to be no more steel producer in Hamilton. All the steel is going to come from China. Emissions have not gone down, but Canada's lost jobs in the process.
Right, and the industry that I know that I'm familiar with this debate best is in oil and gas, of course. And the oil sands have a very, very high, their crude oil is very carbon intense, amongst the most carbon intense in the world. But they only pay, maybe 50 cents or a dollar or a couple of dollars at most per barrel. And that's at $50 a ton. And of course, as it goes up and we're going to get to $170 a ton by 2030, now that becomes a wholly different issue. And I imagine that's going to prompt some very lively debate for a couple of industries like oil and gas.
Yeah, the border, that's exactly right. And so a border carbon adjustment or something like it is going to become increasingly critical, because it is going to be very difficult to see how we continue to increase the stringency of our policy, whether it's carbon taxes or any other kind of regulation on our industry, which we know we need to go faster in decarbonizing. If we're not going to subject them to an unlevel playing field. In other words, if we're not going to give favorable treatment to foreign producers who have less stringent regulation, we need a tool like a border carbon adjustment. So it'll either be that, or it's going to have to be something else, or something has to give in the system.
Michael, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate your insights.
Good to talk to you.